Late night happy hours back on a Wednesday, early start. You know that Petro Wednesdays. We took off last Wednesday. You know, Petro has a family and a life, so decided to actually allow him to enjoy Thanksgiving Eve.
Not much of a life.
Well, been a while since we talked. You have responsibilities. I barely do. Boy, I'm coming in to the show for the Vegas audience. You know, fresh off of watching UNLV lose. They lose close. They were down 8-12 most of the game. They made a run at the end, so of course you walk away after a close loss. And by the way, they covered. They were getting 6.5, so that's always important to Vegas people. But you walk away and you're like, okay, moment here, moment there. Could have won this game. So they're actually out to an 0-4 start. There were high hopes for this team, and they lost to North Carolina. They lost to Alabama. They lost to Davidson. You know, Davidson's going to be a player in their conference. Alabama's probably an upper half of the SEC, and Carolina, I don't know. I still don't think Carolina's that good. I think they're more, 15 to 25 in the country, but they've got upside. They've got young guards and then like 5 different guys who are 6'9" or bigger. So very frustrated right now for UNLV basketball fans. And I don't know, maybe I'll break it down towards the end, but yeah, that's what I'm coming in on. And, I actually wanted to ask you, because it's going to be a little theme tonight, Seren. Do you get worked up over losses? Like, do you have teams that you still get worked up over? Do you get worked? I mean, obviously, Syracuse right now, you're not going to get pissed off about football. But when it's nitty-gritty time with Cuse basketball, are you still into it?
Yeah, I'm still into – you know what I'm into more of? I'm into the sports. Like, I'm into the Chiefs. Like, there's no way you can't be into the Chiefs, right? Listen, you know what I'm doing. We put a TV up outside so that me and some of the guys – that I've, watched games with. They used to go and go with me and sit in my seats when I had seats for years. We've made a pact. Now we'll see if we chicken out at some point, but it was pretty cold last week where we're masked up, right? We're 7, 8, 9, 10 feet apart, sitting outside watching every game. So, I mean, I would say there's a passion there for that, right? So we get fired up for that. So I think Chiefs football does. I think the NFL, I think just football in general. And Syracuse, the Sharks when they're good, because I don't have to cover them, right? So I don't know who anybody is. Like, there's not a guy that like makes a big play that I know is an ass, and I don't want to root for him, right? I don't have that inner turmoil. Same thing with Syracuse football and basketball. So that gets fired. And I'll tell you the other one is Sporting Kansas City Soccer. I think the organization is just first class. Everybody I come across out there is fantastic. I unloaded on them one time. They had a bad game, and I had one of the guys on the team reach out and tell me thank you. And I'm like, dude, what do you mean? Thank you. And he goes, you're treating us like a real team. Now, this is a number of years ago. They've grown a lot.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. And
they recognize, hey, we're getting coverage, whether it's good or bad, at least we're getting coverage.
And they know to be a real thing. And I think they appreciate, and what I've been told, some information that's come back around to me is they appreciate the fact that I cover them, not just the reaction, not just getting on them when they make mistakes and everything, but like so often I still hear the conversations when people interview them. It's like, soccer should get rid of like, the tie. They got to go to, everybody wants to Americanize the sport instead of just covering it as it is. And I've tried to ingrain myself in the culture. I think every sport has its own culture and understand what it is and say, okay, this is where, this is how the sport is to be covered, how it's understood, how it's looked at nationally. I think that's appreciated by those guys. And so it is fun to watch it. You remember like back in our sports fan days, like, we did interviews with guys in all 4 major sports. And who'd you like interviewing the most? It was like the hockey guys, because they actually were like, yeah, let's do it. Let's promote hockey. NASCAR guys, even though we weren't big race fans, I've become a big race fan since then. But, they were always thrilled to talk about and promote their sport. And that's where the soccer guys are. So, yeah, I mean, I like, they're going to play tomorrow night. And they actually just got moved back a day to get on Big Fox tomorrow night, so they'll be prime time on Fox. But the team they're going to play in the next round, they have to turn around and play in 4 days if they win. Play in 4 days and had 2 more days worth of rest. So it's like that pisses me off. So yeah, I still am emotionally connected to that to those teams, but it's harder, and maybe it's just the grind of baseball, right? But it does get harder when you cover a team to root for the team.
Well, I think you want them to do well because you don't want to be mired. I mean, you guys had a run there with the Royals where, I mean, what was it like in 4 seasons? Was it 400 losses? I mean, it was pretty close, like 395 losses. And at that point, it makes your job harder.
409 in 4 years.
409. I mean, that just gets monotonous. And, there are fans who still want to hear Royals coverage. So I mean, we're in that position here. UNLV has been, a disaster. Basketball's been okay, but just not good enough to standards. Football's been rough. So, I'm not emotionally vested like a fan, but I want to see him do well because the kids, the coaches. You don't want people getting fired.
And it's good for business, like selfishly, right? Like
that's the other thing. Yes, I was. It's funny. I was just saying after the UNLV basketball loss, I'm like, my bosses, and it's the way it works here. When I do sidelines, I'm working for Learfield or IMG. It's now Learfield IMG. They hold the rights, right? But I know, like, it's my side job. But I know the people there, like, this is their job. It's hard to sell a lack of success. So I'm like, come on, man, give these guys a chance in a pandemic. This is rough, but yeah, I mean, from a fan standpoint, I'm obviously this year I'm very much into the Jets. Lose, god damn it. And I'm still a lunatic, even though I've had mostly losing ways with Rutgers. There's going to be a goddamn payoff at some point, and I actually may be getting it. I got it last year with Rutgers basketball. They were going to make the tournament. First time since I was in school. That's right. How long they've been losing. And football's getting better, and they got their coach back. But yeah, I'm still into it, man. I'm old, and I was just watching the game, and the SOs, sitting in the other room, and I'm just like, God damn it, shit, come on, which I actually think is good because I think there's a lot of older broadcasters who they've just kind of lost it. I'm not saying they do their jobs poorly, and I'm not saying you have to be a homer, but I think their general enthusiasm for sports then kind of fades into their job. Like they just don't get worked up like they used to when they were, 20, 25, 30 years old or go even younger than 20.
I think that's the balancing act, right? Of like, being able to come back to Kansas City, and now it's been, a quarter century or 21 or 2 years, and cover teams that you grew up rooting for, that passion's in there. There's like when you run across the guys that like, I mean, I wish the guy well. We were joking around. I had Bob Glauber on, our NFL insider from New York News Day today, and the Steeler-Raven game's going on, and I said, well, for Chiefs fans, in the process of running out the clock, Benny Snell did just truck Marcus Peters, and Bob Glauber says to me, he's like, "Oh, you like that, didn't you?" I said, "No, yeah, I did. Actually, I did like it," and he just started howling, and I said, "Well, the guy was an a-hole," and I'll tell you, it's not like he was bad for the media, but it's no big deal. Like when a guy's a jerk to you, so what? Like we walk out of the locker room, it's over. I know how rough it was for people in that organization, good people who work hard to deal with his crap. So from that standpoint, like when you're watching a game and Marcus Peters makes a big play and he's been an ass to people you work around, like in the media that are good people, he'd come dropping F-bombs around everybody while they're recording stuff, so then you can't use it, right? Because you can't play it on the air because he's FBFF. You're like, oh, you got something to say, Marcus? Let's talk. Oh, no, I got to go eat. He never around chicken shit on when it comes to standing up to things. But he makes a big play and the game wins and the crowd's going nuts and you want to feel good for the crowd. You want to feel good for the city, but you're like, this guy's an asshole, right? Now, maybe he'll turn that corner, and I hope he does because it's insecurity or just, anger, frustration that he's got that he needs to get out at some point. I hope he turns that corner because I can tell you the flip side is watching Tyreek Hill score because that's a guy who's been through everything and has seemingly come out, has matured as an individual, was cleared of the accusations that were made against him. And, it's a different guy to see him have to grow up in that spotlight and now come through the other side and be positive and be there with his kids. And, his kids are always around him at games and everything. It's that makes it a little bit easier, but there are tough times. But I'm with you. I mean, I think people do get worn down by the job. Like, I always tell people, and I don't think I've lost from the standpoint that you're coming from a passion for sports, because when you do, you should get out of this business. But anything they tell you what time you got to start doing it, it's a job. So there is an element of like people, normal fandom is you take it when you want it, right? For us, like 2:00, it's got to go. And I can't just mumble it out. I've got to be energized about whatever it is I'm talking about. So there is I get the wear and tear that guys go through, but yeah, there's some sour ass beat guys, like a baseball beat writer, man. That's like, particularly for a bad team, man, that's a bad job.
Well, I don't want to keep bashing them because it was a topic on the show. You weren't on the other day, but the guys who were calling the Maui Invitational in Asheville, didn't seem real interested in studying the teams that weren't the glamour teams, and it's in North Carolina, so they were very much into North Carolina. Like tonight was the last game of the tournament, and the two guys on the game, they're not there. They're doing it remotely. And like,
who was on the game?
A guy named Roy Philpott and the former Virginia guard Corey Alexander. And you could just tell they just had no interest in studying the UNLV side. And I'm not saying in an 8-team tournament, 8-team, whatever it was, 8-team tournament that they have to know something about every team, but like put a little effort into it. And then tonight, I mean, it was like a 9-point game. UNLV's finally making a run, and they're talking about the fucking Ohio State playoff situation and the minimum games. And like, I'm into that, and we're going to talk about it. But I'm like, there's a basketball game going on.
Yeah,
be interested slightly. But I think what happened was they let the fact that it's the two losingest teams in the tournament, and they're not there, right? The broadcasters aren't there, and it was their last game, and they even made a comment during the game. They're like, oh, long day. The audience doesn't want to hear about that. You guys have dream jobs. Like, no one wants to hear bullshit that, it's your whatever game of the day. Just call the game.
And I can't remember, I love that tournament when it's in Maui. I love going out to Maui for that tournament. And I can't remember where the championship game usually sits. I don't think it's the last game. I think they always do set it up this way. I know it wasn't today, but I don't think it was normally as early as today's one.
The whole thing's all screwed up too, because it's one of the ISO tournaments. It's buried by a full schedule, so it was really unique because it's right around. It was supposed
to be last week. Normally, it would have been last week where it would stand out more than having like the Jimmy V and all these other things going on at the same time.
Yeah, so it got swallowed up. Yeah, Texas and North Carolina played the second game of the day today. And
so, would you have been on that trip, by the way? Normally,
yep.
Oh man, that sucks. Have you been there?
I've been to Maui once. Yeah, I went there for a wedding.
Oh. And have you been to the tournament?
I've never been to the Maui Invitational now.
Canapali, have you been up to the beach? There's kind of like two spots. There's kind of like the north. I turn it around probably. There's the northwest side of the island. That's where the Maui Invitational is. And then there's the southwest side, which is kind of the island's kind of like a figure eight turned at an angle. And it's up by the Canapali side. I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, if your team ever plays there, go take a boatload of cash if you root for a really good team. Like we went when Kansas was out there with another family. And like when Syracuse was there, I was like, tickets, okay, no problem. They're kind of pricey, but it's a high school gym. Kansas was there. Oh shit! The families went to one game. They went to one game, and then we used press pass for the other two of us for the rest of the tournament last year when they beat Dayton. But it was just, I was like, oh my Lord, because Kansas fans, like the big programs that with that kind of following just descend. And they suck up all the tickets, and they're all out there without tickets, and the secondary tickets are going for over $1,000.
I believe
it's like $100.
Yeah, I mean the gym's tiny, so so no Maui trip, not this year. Good times for UNLV as they fly back tonight. They have a charter, so that's good. It's not commercial, but they'll be getting back here about 4 a.m. Chapped in the ass, I'm sure, after losing 3 in a row. So that sucks. So I will say normally I work the sidelines for folks who don't know me who are in Kansas City. I do the radio sidelines, and the other part of it is basically they were, outside of going to play the basketball games, they were quarantined in freaking Asheville, North Carolina in their hotel room for 5 days. So now again, it's still a trip. It's cool. You're going somewhere. It just kind of takes away from outside of the basketball. That would have been a rough one.
How about Kansas went to Indianapolis? And I know like everybody wants to get there and then you want to see the other team's negative test, I guess, for a couple of days, but they went out on Sunday and then played Tuesday night. And, like, I will tell you one of the things the MLS is doing, and I've talked to Peter Vermees, the manager for Sporting Kansas City, and he thinks it's something that's going to carry over into the future. Number one, they had a limit on how many games you could fly charter, right, because some of the teams didn't want to spend for it. And that got obviously lifted this year, and they think that that's going to be gone now, and they'll fly charter everywhere. But they fly in and out game day. And I'm like, you don't have a problem with it? Like, because, like, NFL won't do it. I thought for sure that's what the NFL was going to do. They won't do it. You have to fly in the day before and be at the hotel. And I said, listen, are you having any problems with it? He goes, no, it's the best thing ever. He said, we sleep in our own beds. He said, with the way we are, and they're super high tech on nutrition. They have this performance center out there that they built, this training center that's out in KCK. That's absolutely phenomenal. It has all these fields, all these cameras, where they can do the 360 imaging on everything that's going on. Immediately come, practice, walk off the field, and boom. Here's the high-tech video on it and everything. It's phenomenal. The U.S. national team uses it. But he's like, no, we know how to hydrate. We know what we're doing. And that's fine. He said, we it's like an extra day of work because we don't have to screw around traveling the day in advance and just sit around a hotel. He goes, it's the best thing. He goes, I don't think we'll go back to going in the day before. He said, we go to Vancouver. Okay, we're going to do that. He said, but a trip that's, 2.5 hours or less, we're going to fly in and out day of. It'd be what he wants to do next year.
John thinks that maybe I buried the lead on the Maui wedding mention and says, someone expects you to go to Maui for a wedding. Screw them. We've had issues, right, Petro, with destination wedding, having to make a decision on yes or no. I had no
3 weeks notice.
Yeah.
Right? Wasn't that what I got? I got 3 weeks to go. And right after 9/11.
Is that when it was?
Wasn't that what it was?
I don't know. I was an instant out because I think, listen, if you've got a wife or girlfriend, I think that one was to the Caribbean, right? That destination wedding.
Caribbean, yeah.
Like, I don't think I was with someone at that point, so I was like, what am I going to go? All sourpuss Cofield, on the road by myself. Fuck that. Then you didn't go, but it
was 3 weeks notice, and it was going to take 3 flights to get there. Right, I have to go KC, Chicago, Miami, Island, or something, or maybe it was like KC, Miami, Puerto Rico. Where was it? Jamaica, the Bahamas? I can't remember where it was.
Yeah.
Like the cost was going to be like ridiculous, and it's like, and then basically I lost friends over it. They don't talk to me anymore. So
No, they don't. Well, I appreciate the support, Brian. Sourpuss. Yeah, that the Maui destination wedding wasn't really my decision. It was the girlfriend's friends. I'd also never been to Maui, so I was like, we can do it. And it wasn't. We knew like 6 months, 8 months in advance, so we actually got decent flights, and it was cool. We had a good time. So I was all fat and wearing a stupid hat with a.
What time of year?
God damn, I can't remember. But the weather wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, it's always nice there.
Yeah, it's always good.
I'll tell you the only thing. Our vacations are not very. Let's go see the sights. Our vacations are let's go get annihilated and eat a lot and swim and go to the pool. And the only problem with Maui is they really close down early. Like Dude. They are shut down at 9 o'clock. So you and I, like when we start going at a bar, like 9 o'clock ain't closing time. And here it's 24 hours. I know you'll stretch out the night, both of us, because she's a drinker too. And we're like, what is going on here?
Yeah, I will tell you that is one thing. And listen, I was fortunate enough to go to Kauai way back in the day. That's actually where I got engaged. And man, they're no joke. Like they're done. Like they don't like they make Maui look like Vegas, right? Yeah. Kauai is like, forget about it. Like you can't even find anybody, right? Yeah. In Maui, you can, particularly around the tournament, like the restaurant that have bars right there on Kanapali that are right along the beach. There's a couple of them in this one little area by the hotels where the team stay. And they'll hang around till like 10, right? But they start kind of ushering you out at 9, maybe 10. And I think we stayed till 11. There were so many Kansas people there that they're like, okay, we're gonna hang around. But then that's it. So you better I condo up, right? That's how I like to do it. And then you can, because food's so expensive there that like you can, go to the grocery store and you make your own food at home for 2 of the meals, and then you grab yourself couple of 24 packs of Coronas and bottle of Jim Beam, and you finish the night out on your patio with friends, right? That's where it ends up, man. Because no, they're no joke, man. But you know what? The other thing is though, the sun comes up and like they're gabbing it up, talking outside. Like I like to sleep with the sliding door open so you can hear the ocean.
Oh yeah,
right. But man, you hear everybody jogging. Oh yeah, man. Last week, blah blah blah. It's like it's 5:10 in the morning.
I know.
But everybody else at home, it's 10 or 11 o'clock. In the morning. So they're up jogging, gabbing around at 5. Yeah. So you're waking up with the sun, man.
Yeah. They're ready to go. Like you said, do whatever activity or go on a tour, get started at 7. And like, as a couple, we are not up at 7 o'clock. We stay up until 3 a.m. and then, try to be up by 10 to get the day going. What's for the chat room, for everyone watching, what is the worst destination wedding you went to in terms of the destination? I'm curious. Because for me, the worst.
I love this from John. That's so great. I'm not your friend anymore. I'm out.
I get. Well, you know what? Let's not just make it destination weddings. How about just traveling somewhere to a wedding where you're like, my God, I have to go to this godforsaken place where my friend lives or her friend lives. That'll open it up a little bit more. I will joke about this because I don't go to a lot of weddings. I don't have a lot of friends. Not many people like me. I can't even say it seriously.
You're at my wedding. Is that what?
That's what I was gonna. That's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say.
You're in my wedding.
Although it was exciting, I still have your gift,
the party favorite,
commemorative glasses, and it was weird, but I actually got to see one of your friend's sister naked.
One of my friends.
I can't say too much beyond that.
Okay.
Because it could give it away. That's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
The story was, because I was actually with somebody. The story was, dude's sister just gets annihilated.
Yeah.
Disappears, goes up to the room, and I think I didn't just barge in. This isn't, freaking Me Too situation. I think we just went to go get her or check on her, and we walk in, and it's just spread out on the bed, just passed out naked. Yeah, and quickly you're like, oh shit, let me run out.
So, by the way, can I just say, the wedding was pretty good. All you could eat and drink, right? Nobody had any problems. It wasn't cheap.
Right? It was good. It was good. It was very good. No, you guys did it up.
But I will tell you, I trucked it to, was it Saratoga or was I all the way into Burnt Hills, New York?
Yeah.
For JB, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I had to go I think I flew into Albany, and then you truck it up to Saratoga. I can't remember if we were at Saratoga or if it was actually in Burnt Hills. I think we stayed in Saratoga. It was fine. It's fun. Good wedding. Good times. That's the furthest I've ever, I think, trekked it for a wedding.
Well, the problem with that couple is they're both from the Northeast, so you can't win. Yeah. We live in Vegas.
Her hometown, yeah.
Everyone's got to come to Vegas. I also actually, truly, I will throw in, and I'm sure there's more. I will throw in, I had to go to a town named Cullman, Alabama, because my younger brother got married for a second time, and yeah. It's in the middle of nowhere. I mean, Alabama's kind of in the middle of nowhere for me anyway, but yeah, Cullman, Alabama was not the most exciting deal.
I've driven through Alabama on my way to Orange Beach, like the Floribama, area there. My wife's family did the whole family clan thing down there. And I've flown down there once and driven down there once, I think. And going through Mississippi and Alabama, you go through some of the 2-lane roads, man, that's a trip.
Yep. Puerto Rico with a hurricane coming.
Nice.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. I've never been to Stillwater in all my travels for sports. Have you been there?
I have not. I see the exit when I've driven down, driven down to Dallas. Yeah. And you see the exit, I don't know, 45 minutes before Norman, which is just glorified Oklahoma City. And so, yeah, that's a trip.
Cowden, where is it? What part of the state?
I don't know. We had to go to one where we stayed in St. Louis on the river, which was pretty cool. We had a nice view of the river, not far from the arch, but the actual wedding was another hour and a half into Illinois. So the wedding was at a church, we had to drive an hour and a half there and an hour and a half back. And then the reception was back in St. Louis. And so there was kind of what, why couldn't we just do this all here in St. Louis? What's the deal?
Have you been? I've been to Fresno. I don't want to go there for a wedding, but I like Fresno. I like a lot of the Mountain Wisconsin cities. They're interesting.
Danny Duffy's from Fresno, so okay. I get a lot. Duffy's one of my absolute favorites with the Royals. Great guy, peach of a guy, and so I will have nothing negative to say about Fresno in respect to Danny Duffy.
Have you been to the Ta? As one of my friends here in Vegas, Andy calls it the Ta. I've only been there one time. I flew in and flew out. For
basketball, probably
UNLV in the NCAA tournament, flew to Wichita, drove to Tulsa. Both?
Yeah, I mean, Wichita, listen, every town, if you're there with someone who knows the town, can tell you where the spots are, right? I think there's a good spot in every town. My mom grew up in Newton, Kansas, which is 30 minutes from Wichita. And so I had relatives in Wichita. So I spent, a lot of time in Wichita. I know me some Wichita. I got nothing but love for Wichita.
I feel like Baltimore near the water could be okay.
I went Orioles 2014 ALCS Game 1 and had a great time. Of course, the Royals won in extra innings, and there may have been discussions had with Orioles fans, and it was good that day. I've been there for the Super Bowl. Now, what else was there? Oh, no, I was there for a Chiefs Ravens Thursday night game, like back in 1999 or 2000. That was. I like, you get down by the water area. It's great. Baltimore's great. I haven't been anywhere else though. That's it, man. All my trips have been right there. I always confuse Tampa with Baltimore because the Ravens 2000 Super Bowl was in Tampa.
Okay.
And so I associate Baltimore and Tampa. I like Baltimore. It's a good town.
The worst I've heard of from friends, I probably shouldn't do this. Again, another one of those I shouldn't do. Some of our friends got really mad that their friend and his fiance both live here in Vegas, and they did a destination wedding in Malibu. So everyone had to drive down to Malibu, and they're like, what the fuck? Why are we spending money to go to Malibu? Just get married in one of the marriage capitals of the country.
Wait a minute. Did they like go to one of there's like a couple of hotels there? Because I stayed one night in Malibu at one of the hotels that's right across the street. Or no, not Matt. No, that was where's the pier with the amusement park on it?
Santa Monica.
Santa Monica. Yeah, I stayed in Santa Monica. Man, they're proud of that shit. I'll tell you that. Like, you're gonna pay. Like, I'm usually like with the family, like, let's get 2 rooms and be comfortable. Right, we go to Des Moines. I saw a thing about Des Moines or Iowa City or whatever. Yeah, we'll grab a couple of rooms. I'm a big spender. Grab a couple of rooms, be more comfortable. I got 2 kids, so there's 4 of us. I was like, Santa Monica? No. We're cramming our ass into one room. And everyone's listening to Dad snore because I'm not paying for 2. Not even for one night am I paying for 2 rooms here.
That's awesome. So I wanted. We kind of got off the sidetrack there, but good topic from the chat room. How much are you into college basketball right now with football going on? Kansas is massive there. It'd be nice if Missouri finally turned the corner and was good again. Tonight's win was really big, actually, and I think Oregon's still in flux because they have a lot of players transfers who are ineligible, but that's a really good win against Oregon. And at the end of the year, however long the season ends, you watch Oregon's going to be the first or second best team in the Pac-12, and if Mizzou is anywhere close to being in the mix, and by the way, in the SEC, they can be in that second class. They're not going to be in the top 4, but they can be in that second class. This Oregon win is going to look really good. Yeah, it is going to look really good. And I'm with you because I think Dana Altman can really coach, and they're going to figure out how to play. They had Pritchard last year, who really everything ran through him, and so there's an education there. Plus all the talent that's always coming and going there, right? He always has transfers coming in and out, which is the reality of a big program. Real quick, well, it's a different reality with them because I truly believe they just recruit off of other rosters while the season is still going on. Whoever they need. I think they have – no, I really do. I believe this, that they have feelers out all the time in season and shortly after the season to kind of fill out the roster. Right. UNLV's had 2 guys the last 2 years get plucked by Oregon to go up there. So one of the lead guards a year ago, and I think it was kind of mutual. I think the coach now had enough of Amari Hardy, but he was playing tonight. And the other one that stings me is Rutgers had a really good power forward a couple of years ago, averaged 14 and 7, kind of a building block for the program. And then in May, out of nowhere, like he's part of the next season. In May, he's like, yeah, I'm leaving. And it took him 12 days. And on day 1 that he announced he's leaving, I'm like, he's going to Oregon. He's a Canadian dude. They have a connection with the Canadian AAU dudes. And guess what? 12 days later, he was at Oregon. And tonight he debuted because he had to sit out. True transfer, also dealing with an injury. Tonight, I think, I didn't see the final box, but he led Oregon with 28. So that felt good. And if you got Gonzaga as the runner-up, my God, dude, it's ridiculous. They had a guy tonight who had 19. He became eligible from Florida. Listen. I know, and I know we've talked about this before. I know, like, your normal college basketball voices aren't going to be all accusatory about Oregon and Gonzaga somehow getting all these transfers to go to Eugene and goddamn Spokane. But can you imagine a kid who's playing basketball in Gainesville, Florida, and he's like, Spokane, I know all about that. Okay, first of all, you're lying. Secondly, when you went there, wait, that was your choice? that was either or, right? Yeah. Listen, I'll give you another one, like being at the Maui Invitational. Gonzaga was there one year, and I've told you this, I've told this story to you before. I don't know if I've told it on this, but watching Mark Few's kids run around the restaurant like,
unchained wild animals.
You told me about 4 weeks ago because I relayed the story. I hadn't really been around Mark Few. I've interviewed him a few times, and he's okay. He was. I mean, he was sitting there holding court, but his kids were just. I'm like, dude, like, put them on one, get a leash on the other. That's awesome. That's awesome because that's really, at that point you're like, okay, now I know this person.
Yeah.
Because if you're letting your kids run around like animals. But my story was last year he's here in town. They win the West Coast Conference tournament every year. They win going away. And he comes into the post-game press conference, and I never seen him at a press conference. And to the local guys who cover Gonzaga, he was just a complete clunt. I'm like, what is this guy doing? I'm looking around the room. I'm like, is anyone going to say anything? Like, at least step up and go, whoa, wait a second. Relax. No one. They all just laid down.
Look, there are. We've talked about a lot of things that you don't usually hear about college basketball. I mean, I remember years ago us talking about how the AAU circuit works, and with everybody's mom and dad being the coach, and it's totally legit. Now everyone is shocked last year when the FBI thing comes down. Like, oh my God, wait a minute, the shoe companies are paying them. Like, yes, like this is how it's been. But they just took over from the high school coaches, right? Back in the day when every Chicago high school coach drove a Cadillac. Right, because all the money was being funneled through them,
right.
But and everyone's like, suddenly stunned, like this is a new revelation. I do think. Don't you think though that if Gonzaga's number one and Baylor's number two, it's a down year in college basketball? Like, no shot at those teams. They're both really good teams, and Baylor, today they did finish that, right? That was finishing up while we were starting, right? Baylor took off and won, right?
I didn't see the final, but it sounded like it because someone sent a message to us earlier. Yeah, Illinois lost by 13, so Baylor won 82-69. But go ahead, finish up your point about.
But doesn't it mean that? And I know Gonzaga's making their way towards blue blood status. They're at least top of the top 25 status, right? Partially because their schedule. They play a couple of big games in the non-con, and then they roll with one loss to St. Mary's maybe. And maybe an upset here or there. They have one or two losses in the league, so they've kind of become accustomed up there. And they do have talent. They have a legit, top 5 recruit this year. I forget the kid's name at the guard, and so they're real. But isn't that a bit of a sign when Kansas, Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina? I mean, when they're down a ways, that like college basketball is off a little bit, right?
Well, I mean, obviously it's off from 20 years ago when guys would stay around 3 and 4.
No. It's off from recent years.
The programs that are hit the most, I mean, you mentioned the powers. Well, they keep recruiting for that year. They keep recruiting one and dones. Like, you do have to layer your recruiting class with what you think are going to be 3 and 4 year players. Or you got to be really good on the here's what's developed. Now you have to be good on the transfer market. Gonzaga, we just talked about it, is awesome on the transfer market. Baylor, as an Oregon-like school, Nike, has bought themselves into relevance. And I'm not saying it's cheating necessarily.
I disagree.
Texas Tech has done the same thing. They hired a great coach in Chris Beard, but they spent money in the program. They're recruiting and operating like they're Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, what UCLA used to be. They're playing the big boy game.
What does that mean when you say they bought their way in? Like, what does that mean?
Facilities, no doubt, right?
I mean, I don't know where their facilities are. I know there's no they still struggle to pack the house, right?
Who's
still football. It's out in hellhole West Texas.
Oh, you're talking about Lubbock and Texas Tech?
Yeah. That's what I mean. Who are you talking about? Baylor?
I was talking about Baylor, Texas Tech, and especially Gonzaga.
Gonzaga, but I'm telling you, like, Baylor's MO now, they're not recruiting at the level that they were when Drew first got there. Like, this is more a collection of talent. Are they still doing transfers? Yes.
Right.
He's the tip of the spear on the transfer thing.
Right.
But like, they're not getting, like, they were getting big men that were top 25 guys on a regular basis, and they're not getting those guys anymore.
Well, now I think he's building to get old as a group, and then you augment with a transfer here and there. And honestly, Texas Tech, their biggest move was paying the money and being aggressive to get the best up-and-coming coach. Chris Beard is a psycho. And Chris Beard is also comfortable with, hey, Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina, you're going to have to reshuffle your roster all the time. All right, I'll do that. Beard comes from JUCO. So Beard's like, I had a new team every freaking year. I'll do the same exact thing at Texas Tech.
The two best coaches of basketball, right? Remember the old adage that Bob Knight will beat you with his and then he'll beat you with yours, right? That was the big thing about Bob Knight was the best coach, right? Like coach it. Forget about recruiting. That was like the thing that Dick Vitale used to always say about Bob Knight. Two guys that can do that are Bill Self and Chris Beard.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're going to watch Bill Self play 5 out this year. I mean, he 19 minutes he played with a big man and David McCormick, who was overmatched by the athletes of Kentucky, and he took him out the floor. He played 21 minutes with no big man on the floor, none against a Kentucky team. And my point about like college basketball's down is, yes, Kentucky doesn't have like the Duke class where they had 4 of the top, where they had the 1, 2, and 3 or 1, 2, and 4 the other year, a couple of years ago when they had Zion, and it's not like 3 of the top 10 and then 2 more in the top 20, but they're all high-ranked kids, but they're all just long athletes. Right. If you watch that Kentucky-Kansas game, I mean, they might be pretty good at the end. If they are, they're going to look more like Virginia than they are, Kentucky's national championship team under Calipari. Like offensively, it's not going to get real pretty ever with this team. But they are long and athletic. That's why McCormick couldn't stay on the floor against them. And it's why they gave Kansas fits in the first half. And really Kansas finally got figured out like, oh, my God, they can't get their arms into every passing lane. And they are going to jump on every lob we throw in there. And they started playing differently. But like that's why I say college basketball's down, because Kentucky still has what they have, all young guys. And usually they sputter a little bit here, but in the end, like, oh, Kentucky's a 1 or 2 seed. I don't know if they're going to make it to a 1 or 2 seed. I think Kentucky's like a 5, 6, 7 seed, right? And if Calipari proves me wrong again, hey, I tip my cap to him. The guy's brilliant. But like with Beard is a phenomenal sick coach. Like you talk to coaches, they're just like, oh my God, like how do like. And if you've coached anything, right? Like I coach Little League basketball. So like, and everybody should coach something sometime. Coach your kids soccer, coach something, go out and do it. And you will get a respect for like what goes on because you have this vision, no matter what level it is, you have this vision of what you want to do. And no matter what your vision is, you ultimately have to scale back and say, like, we can only do what I can get through to them. He gets so much through to them. I mean, like I always say, like, listen, you can't be the best inbounds team. You can't be the best inbounds defense team, can't have a zone and a press and this and this. He seems to have it all. He seems to find the time to make him proficient at all those things. And now he's recruiting to Texas Tech, which is insane.
It is insane. And when he needed another scorer, I'm just going to look at this as a parent. There was a kid at Georgetown named Mac McClung, right? Great athlete, volume shooter, but he decided to leave Georgetown, go to Texas Tech, and he's good. Now, as a parent, can you imagine if you had a son at Georgetown and they're a couple of years in and they're like, yeah, I'm going to go to Texas Tech? Be like, the fuck you are. You know what you can do? You get the goddamn degree, stay there another year, you go anywhere you want as a senior transfer, but you're getting the Georgetown degree. I don't care how much you think you can play in the NBA.
Right.
You're at Georgetown, brother. You ain't leaving.
But so many of them think they can play in the NBA.
Yeah.
And right now, Texas Tech's a better path to the NBA because you're going to play for Chris.
Oh, he's not to go against him, but he's a 6'3" white. He is a good athlete. He's kind of a knucklehead.
If you're listen, they all think there are guys playing D2 that think the league is calling.
Yeah.
Coach, you just give me more minutes. They just call my number more.
I'm a one and done.
I'm a high second. I'm a high second that'll make the club on my gritty defense, and then my career takes off, Derek Fisher style.
Yeah, we're not underselling Jay Wright. We just forgot about him. No, Jay Wright's awesome. Villanova's there as a top 10 team every year, and he is one of the guys who he recruits at a super high level. He'll get a top 25 guy every once in a while, but he really builds his team with guys who are 25 to 125 in the national rankings, and there's a good chance that they stay there 3 and 4 years. And the other thing is he's good at re-recruiting his guys. If they are getting frustrated, they're not playing. You don't see a bunch of guys bail from Villanova. And that is one of the problems now that's developing for Kentucky. Like every guy who goes to Kentucky is like, oh, I'm a pro. And then that first year when Calipari's like, no, you're not, I'm going to break you. A lot of them are like, well, screw this, I'm not playing. So it's like you're losing one and dones, and then you're also losing like the 8th guy on the roster because they're mad they're not playing.
Yeah, I'll say this, like Jay Wright did his recruiting stepped up 2 years ago and it hasn't delivered, right? From the ranking numbers, And I think there's a little bit, I think what Calipari deserves credit for, and Coach K, who's morphed into being a one-and-done coach, is coaching those guys, man. And accepting the pissing and moaning and bitching of your fan base when you lose some games that on paper it looks like you shouldn't lose because your guys aren't ready, and coaching those egos and being willing to, hey, say, shoo, flee. If like the guy's going to run and be a whiny shit, then you're like, I'm out, and then focusing on the guys you want. And then the guy who's like, well, I could go, but I probably stay. You know, I mean, the guy who I think it's kind of interesting is Self always has experience and like one and done, right? Self seems to have the formula that everybody wants. Everybody says you need, yet he's won the one championship. Now what's he at Final Four wise now? 4 or 3 Final Fours, but a boatload of Elite Eights, which to me, eventually the floodgate's going to open up and he's going to go to like 3 Final Fours in 5 years and win 2 more championships. I mean, if he stays at Kansas through all this shit, and I think he's definitely going to ride it out through the end of the NCAA investigation. But does he stay after that, or does he go scratch the NBA itch? I think that'll be interesting to see. But you know, it's like what John Calipari does, playing with all young, ego-driven, high-level talents and building it into a team by the end of the year that has everybody pissing their pants when you see him in your bracket. That's no joke. Like that is more. I mean, he's got so much talent. Look at what they had on the floor against Kansas. And let's see what they are at the end of the year.
Right. Just to punch Carvelli back up, I don't think I made it clear enough. He says, yeah, I take my chances with Texas Tech over Georgetown. You know what I was saying, right, Petro?
Academics.
Like, academics.
Yeah, like unless you're like, you know, Patrick Ewing and you know you're going to be drafted. Yeah. Like, okay, Patrick Ewing wants to go someplace else, fine. But for most kids, a Georgetown education, which is their education is going to carry them further than basketball. Yep. Although I will say the European market, I've got a friend whose son has been in Europe for 10 years, and he's been making $250,000 for 10 years over there, and he's seen the whole world. So it's a good, you know, there is paths to making a lot of money in basketball, you know, beyond, you know, it's not like, oh, it's the NBA or you're on welfare. It doesn't work like that. But still, no, to your point, a Georgetown education is worth a lot of money in the job market. That is a good touche, though, because the kid, Mac McClung, if he doesn't make the NBA, he could probably play overseas and, you know, who knows, make $250,000, $300,000 a year until he's 32. But I'll tell you what, when you're 32 and you're looking around, you're like, man, those Georgetown connections that would guarantee me a job for the rest of my life at 150 plus, that would be nice. Punch up Carhill. Punch him up with that. Don't forget his blunders against Trey Burke. What was his blunder against Trey Burke? Not extending his defense to 40 feet? Sorry. It's down there towards the bottom, like you said. Yeah, that's one. Never forget his blunders against Michigan and Trey Burke. Like, what? Trey Burke was raining from 36, 37 feet in that game. Are you like so your strategy is to go out and check that guy all the way out there? I wonder if he'd put it on the deck and go by you. Sometimes the other team wins. You want to say Bill Self can't get over the Elite Eight hump? Fine, I won't argue that point. But I will tell you this. Here's like we talk about the minutia of programs, like the Adidas contract, which I know is a big deal because of everything that's gone on, right? And the you know the NCAA investigation. But the Adidas contract is valued with apparel and cash, but mostly apparel, like $100 million. So the Kansas athletic program, the girls' tennis team walks out to play, and they have a really good tennis team, and now they have a really good soccer team, the girls' soccer team. They are dripping in Adidas gear like they're Kansas basketball. And they go play, you know, a team like, say, Kentucky, who Nike only clothes the football and basketball team. And they go play Kentucky, and those Kentucky kids are wearing, like, you know, T-shirts, and they got nothing. And so one of the little secrets of college basketball is the Adidas deal. Bill Self would be a better coach if he would switch to Nike. He could get as much or more money, but the Adidas deal for Kansas is so sweet for all their other programs and has helped their athletic department in so many other ways that Bill Self actually, I'm not saying the deal is like a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10, but like for Bill Self, KU basketball, it's a 7 or 8, where a Nike deal where they just splash around everything on him personally and on his basketball team, and it would help him get into the Nike AAU circuit, which they're Nike kids that will never go to Kansas because they're an Adidas school. Like that's when I hear like, well, Self doesn't get the Calipari talent. He's not a Nike school. If he were a Nike school, he'd get it. Meanwhile, the university, the athletic department of Kansas benefits hugely from that Adidas deal, and it wouldn't have it if not for Bill Self and the basketball team. Those are the little things behind the scenes that people don't know that are going on in college basketball.
All right. Let's transition to a little football in the Super Contest. Feeling good this week?
No. What did we do last week? 1-4 or 2-3?
2-3.
Dude, that's a step up.
2-3, and we were about to get the lucky backdoor cover from the Chargers, but for some reason, Anthony Lynn inside the 6-yard line decided to run on first down, and then his final attempt, someone effed up, and Herbert ran a quarterback keep, and if you watch the play, his tackles were backing up to get into position to pass block.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
He is a rookie. I mean, it's easy to put it at Herbert. I will also say that while Herbert's putting up statistics, if anybody is a candidate to be the next Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Carson Wentz, take your pick of young quarterbacks that were great coming out of the chute that then regressed later on, I would nominate Justin Herbert as a potential candidate there because there is something to be said for making the big throws when it really fucking counts. Okay? And throwing touchdowns when the game is on the line is the true measuring stick. And so he plays like the rest of the Chargers, just well enough to lose. But he is a rookie. I can't put that all on Herbert. You got to have a better plan than that. I mean, Anthony Lynn, 30 miles of broken glass. I mean, he's so gone. He's so blown out of there.
It's not good. It's not good.
No, but we should have had that thing covered. Well, how about his end of the first half? Were you even watching that debacle?
I was. I don't remember what happened. What did he do?
He was going to go for it on 4th and 2. Ticked off like 20 seconds and then called a timeout to then come back out and punt. I mean,
yeah.
Listen, the Baltimore Ravens today, and John Harbaugh, I think, is one of the best, but they snapped the football with 2 minutes and 5 seconds and 7 seconds on the play clock at the end of the first half. And but they ended up needing it because then they couldn't get unpiled and get a playoff, to which then RG3 threw right to the hands of the tight end. But it was the most piss managed end of a half I've seen in a while as well. And I know John Harbaugh can coach, but Anthony Lynn that's a shit show.
He's a disaster. And I was an Anthony Lynn backer. It's just enough's enough.
He's a good guy. He's a good position coach. He's a good, maybe even associate head coach, running backs guy, but he cannot manage the clock.
We also had the Chiefs who raced out to a lead but didn't hold on. -3.5, 27-24. And I guess since I'm the proxy, I should wait until the last minute. It hasn't burned us as badly as it did on Saturday. The mobile deadline in the Super Contest at the Westgate is 5 o'clock local. The true deadline is 11 o'clock. You can go down there and put in the entries. And I would say, around 7 Pacific, we find out that the Broncos will not have a quarterback.
Yeah.
Will not have a quarterback, and we're on the Broncos plus.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
That was, that's just, that's a COVID world. You take it out of the shit sandwich and you move on that one. But, listen, if you're going to win this thing, you're going to have to catch the right side of the coin flips, and you're going to have to catch some back doors, and then you're going to have to be really good as well.
The leader's at 70.6%.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's pretty good.
It's really good.
It's like really 41, 17, and 2, something like that. So, good.
I think it's getting harder. I know college football is so difficult from the standpoint of Missouri played 2 weeks ago with 53 guys. That's the minimum it takes to be able to play the game. Yeah. Eli Drinkwitz on the Zoom this week was we got 61 guys. I don't know what to do with 61 scholarships, right? 85, by the way, is a full scholarship load. He's got 61 that are ready to go, and he's talking like it's, a dreamland. That's how much it is. And so when you start dealing with that kind of thing, it's a problem.
Last week, UNLV football got blasted by Wyoming. By the way, their game got canceled today, so no Boise in town on Friday. But last week, they had 49 players available. So,
yeah,
little tough to practice when you can't actually play against your twos. All right, NFL, and there's some interesting numbers in here because they got to set the line on Wednesday, and you got a lot of stuff in flux in terms of injuries and the Steelers' schedule situation, the Ravens situation. Bears and Lions.
Bears don't play. I know they've lost 5 in a row. First of all, don't play the game. The Bears have lost 5 in a row, and the Lions fired their coach. 1-800-bets off if you've got a strong play on that.
Trubisky for the Bears. It's the Darrell Bevel era for the Lions.
Can't be worse than the Patricia era, who said the scheme has won 3 Super Bowls.
Wait, did he say that?
Somebody told me that there was.
Oh, fuck you! The scheme. I don't even think he called. I think Belichick just let him sit there with a goddamn pencil and the little laminated sheet. I'm not even sure he ran the defense.
How about he carried the title defensive coordinator for 5 years, and he's a shit show every year with the Lions. And then Flores, he won't even give him the title, and he goes down and knows what he's doing with the Dolphins. Yep. 1 year, they don't even call him defensive coordinator, but everyone knows that's really what he's doing.
Yeah. And
he won't give him that title yet. He goes down and gets it done with the Dolphins.
And unfortunately in the NFL where, listen, I'm not saying someone should be banned for life. There have been a couple after multiple chances, like Wayne Fonts and Rich Kotite were never seen again. Although Kotite got a second head coaching job.
Adam Gase is the worst freaking
I don't – if Gase or Patricia have a coordinator job in the next 2 years – I mean, I can't say fuck the whole league. It just means there's a couple of stupid owners and, cronyism. Those guys, they got to get a break. They got to get a break. Go position coach in college, work your way back up. You're both awful.
Yeah, they're bad. They're bad.
The worst. Well, hello. How about the season changing in terms of the view on the Dolphins? Beginning of the year, it's like, hey, dog. Oh, this is good value. 11.5 against the Bengals.
50% of our wins are the Dolphins. We've been riding the Dolphins all year, and now they're finally like, okay, all right, now we get it. We believe. The Bengals have no quarterback, so you can't play the Bengals. So you play the Dolphins or no go, right? There's no way you play in the Bengals 11.5, are you? No, I won't let you. No.
No. I think if it were Tua in there, then maybe, but I can't believe I'm going to say this. Fitzy scares me.
Fitzy
I know. He can still play. He's not consistent.
I
But
don't
if he plays well.
They traded Dunlap. There's no one's circling the wagons on that Bengals team. They're going to shit, and they're tanking out to try to get as high a pick as they can.
Boy, I wanted to be a Colts whore, but they keep letting me down. They're 3.5 against the unpredictable Texans.
The Colts are the typical 10-6 play defense and field position team, right? That you like them as a dog, you stay away from them as a favorite. Although I'm not buying the Texans' resurgence here, so I would lean towards the Colts on this one. But going up and beating the Lions, yay!
I don't want to play.
I'm not buying it. But I mean, listen, Deshaun Watson is a scary proposition.
Vikings 10 against the Jaguars. The Jaguars were impressed with Mike Glennon. Apparently Minshew's ready to come back, but they're like, no, we're going to go with Glennon again.
Yeah, and this is where you jump on the Vikings because they were impressed with, what's his name? Luke Skywalker. What the hell was the guy's name that was quarterback? They like Minshew. Oh, he sucks. And they like, what was it? Who was the guy in between?
Jake Luton.
Yeah, Luton. And no, as soon as you're like, oh, no, we found the quarterback. No, all those guys are retreads for a reason. Mike Glennon's a serviceable third-string quarterback, right? He can step in when the other team's not prepped for him and execute an offense, but the Vikings will prep for him. There's a reason this line is 10, particularly with the Vikings. Didn't the Vikings – no, they came back and won. So, yes, but I still – the Vikings or don't play. Mike Glennon is not a real NFL quarterback.
Truth from Duluth, Vikings by 1 million. He's also filling us in. Adam Thielen's back. I knew that because he's on my flopping.
I don't care if he's back. It doesn't matter. Mike Glennon is not – you do not bet Mike Glennon.
Who gave me the Indiana will win the Maui Invitational pick the other day?
Not me.
Anyone remember in the chat room? Just curious. Listen, we're here to give opinions, not always to be right.
Is Indiana basketball not Nebraska football? Like, are they the two that are just look like they're never going to rise back up to what they were?
By the way, Truth from Duluth, it was you. So that's why I put your comment up there and then made that snide comment about Indiana's going to win it. No, I don't think it's as bad as Nebraska.
What a dick move. I love it.
Yeah, I don't think it's as bad as Nebraska football. I think they're close, and I think Arch Miller can coach. But the problem is for Indiana, it ain't – I'd have to look back at eras, but the Big Ten's gotten a lot better. It just has. And, I won't pump my Scarlet Knights yet until we see what they do. But Maryland, from the basketball standpoint, was a good addition. And there are some programs that sucked balls for years in the Big Ten. They've gotten better. So, it's a more balanced playing field. So, Indiana's having a tough time.
Yeah. Well, listen, Indiana football, man. It's a football school.
I'll tell you who's good, and we'll see if they can play big v small because they're big. Wisconsin's good. And they're kind of mean. They're kind of nasty, but they're big. So they may run into a team that puts, one big, four smalls, and just rains threes on them. But Wisconsin's really dangerous.
Wisconsin does kind of look like that movie team where you're like, well, these guys aren't really basketball players. They cast them, but like they don't know what a basketball body looks like because they are kind of beefy.
A lot of I'm not saying they're as good as this guy, but a lot of the jokers, a lot of those kind of builds. Although I think Nate Reavers is kind of built up. Potter's a little softer. So anyway. Back to, you can see we're like, anything else? Can we talk about something else other than the card?
Raiders, Jets. You're not playing the Jets. I mean, that's easy. Either play the Raiders or stay away.
I actually did put a Jets bet down today.
You've got to be shitting me.
On the Jets 0-16, yes or no?
Okay. I'll take that.
What do you think I picked?
Yes. Or no, as a Jet fan, no, because you want them to go 0-16.
Exactly. If they fuck me by not getting Trevor Lawrence and win a game or two down the stretch, then at least I win money out of it. You pricks.
Yeah, I guess.
And then what? Listen. If I'm going to be devastated for the next 10 years because I don't get Trevor Lawrence, I want a little scratch. Now, the amount of money I put down is not worth shit. So I don't know. It's a very trying 5 games.
Go ahead and take the Falcons now.
No, this number's terrible.
It's actually the first time all year I'm like, maybe the Falcons.
Oh, no.
Yes. I'm going to tell you why, because this Taysom Hill thing is bullshit.
Yep.
Like the Wildcat thing, like it's cute. You know what? You want to know how I know the Taysom Hill is bullshit? He's the first quarterback to have 2 rushing touchdowns in his first 2 career starts at quarterback, not playing. He's obviously played, but at quarterback. Since who? Right, I always say stats and records and notable things are valuable as the company that you keep.
Yeah, my guess would be Tebow.
Eric Hipple.
No, the legendary Eric Hipple. All right,
the Detroit Lions, which means who went on to do nothing, which means that is worthless. And now teams will begin to figure it out. Raheem Morris, actually, I know from people that have played for him. He was an assistant coach. Think about James Franklin and Raheem Morris were assistant coaches at K-State under Ron Prince, that in between Bill Snyder eras. Raheem Morris is a good coach, and he does motivate his players. And so I actually think they can look at some tape and go, all right, enough of this shit. Like I'm gonna tell you, if the Falcons don't do it, the Chiefs are going to do it, and somebody's gonna put some points on the board and make this guy throw, and he's not a quarterback. And so I actually kind of do like the Falcons here. Taysom Hill is not a quarterback.
Okay. So the
Wildcat football, that shit cannot be played on every down, week in, week out in the NFL.
Could we get screwed on this somewhere in the second quarter where Sean Payton's like, all right, I got to cut the bullshit. Jameis, get in there.
Yes, 100%. And that would be Falcon-esque.
I hope they recognize what happened in the Broncos game, that they got a massive break and Taysom Hill was not good.
Yeah, just no. I mean, by the way, we advanced in our suicide pool because of that situation. So I'm not going to complain, but I'm
starting to become, of course, I didn't pick any of the last few games, but I'm starting to become a Titans whore because Derrick Henry's starting to do what Derrick Henry does in the second half.
Right.
Has its number gotten too rich at 5.5 against the Browns?
Yes, it has. It's the Browns. And the Browns are the team that doesn't beat anybody good, so this is the game they will win. I'll take the Browns outright. I'll play them on the money line.
We'll add the bonus money line to the super content.
The Browns will be one of our selections.
Can we actually operate in the super contest down the stretch like the remember what the Swam used to do down the stretch? Because Chris Berman generally
50 stars on it.
Yeah. Berman generally would be like 42% picking against the spread, but they never mentioned the spread. It would be the scores, but he just sucked balls. And then at the end of the year, he's like, yeah, I'm going to count this as 5 wins. Like, can we just go money line on 3 of our picks and we get like 14 wins instead of 3?
I think so. If the Browns win outright, I think I should get that. At Tennessee, when everyone's buying in that the Titans are the king shit, if Cleveland goes in there and wins outright, I want some props in the chat room. I'll take the Browns on this one.
Ryan Carl says Titans absolutely legit, but that line is too high. All right. I said on the air today that I don't care if Danny Dimes plays or Colt McCoy. I'm down on the Giants plus 10.
I can't go there. I don't mind Colt McCoy. I don't think there's any difference between the two. I mean, Danny Dimes might make a couple more throws, but he'll definitely spit the ball over more. So I don't care about the quarterback situation, but you're not making a living betting plus tenors.
Unless you're Carson Wentz. Let me say it again. Unless you're Carson Wentz, you have to be able to throw against the Seahawks defense.
Yes.
So, yes, now I just claim that Colt McCoy is better than Carson Wentz.
But because their best defensive back's best attribute is that he sacks the quarterback, I mean, that's a flaw in a pass.
Right. They've got a defensive end playing safety.
Yes, he's got more sacks than Chris Jones and Frank Clark, who are paid $20 million a year in Kansas City to sack the quarterback.
Imagine Jamal Adams in 1967 in the AFC where all they did was pass. He would have 48 sacks during the year. Back then, he was like a slightly undersized defensive end.
He's David, was it David Fuller, David Fulcher? Who was that 250-pound safety the Bengals had when they went to the Super Bowl with Boomer Esiason?
Was he 250?
Oh, God, he was huge. He was like a big fat ass.
Wow. Cardinals at home catching 3 against the Rams.
I mean, don't you swoop in on the Cardinals now? Everybody's off the Cardinals. Everybody's buying the Rams. So isn't it time to get on the Cardinals? It is in my book.
Yes. That's a like. That's not just a lean. That's a like.
Okay.
Again, to the NFC East playing out of the division. All these spreads are north of 8. Eagles plus 8.5 on the road against the Packers.
I mean, I can't play the Eagles. I mean, they're just like, there are spots that they look good, and this is one that they look good. But, I mean, Carson Wentz is just damaged goods. Like, we can talk some quarterbacks if you want here in a minute, but he's just damaged goods. I don't know how you could – and Doug Peterson's damaged goods. Listen, Doug Peterson is lacking discipline within his organization. There's all kind like they cannot figure out health at all. And it's one thing, it's like the Chargers and Eagles. You can't be decimated by injuries every year and be like, oh, we're snake bit. You're doing something wrong. You're either drafting guys with all kinds of medical red flags that then come in and get hurt. Like Derwin James slipped for a reason. Can we say that maybe it was the medicals on Derwin James as to why he was supposed to go like 5 and he was there at 20 or wherever the Chargers took him? And the Eagles' entire roster, like you're not stunned Deshaun Jackson can't go. Okay, that's not like you're a dipshit if that's like the pillar of your foundation.
Right. I'm gonna have
he's going to be ready to go for 16.
Yeah. Most teams, Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson are your 4th and 5th. The Eagles are like, we'll go with them as 1 and 2s. They're reliable.
They take Jalen Reagor. I talked to a scout. There's a couple of scouts in the league. I always go through different guys, and I was like, "What do you think about Jalen Reagor?" And they're like, "Yeah," because I thought the Chiefs could take a wideout in the first round, even though they have a lot of wideouts. Several of them are going to move on after this year. Sammy Watkins and Demarcus Robinson, and they could have been gone even this past offseason. Anyway, so I was talking about him like, what do you think of Jalen Reagor? Like the 40 time's not real. That's a Jim Short 40 time. He doesn't run like that in pads, and I don't know. Like, I think he's way overhyped. And they took him at 1 pick in front of Justin Jefferson and a round plus over DK Metcalf. Like, there's clearly a scouting, and drafting issue in Philadelphia. But, like, when you need a wideout, and Jalen Reagor, no, wrong, pass. Like, you don't know what you're doing. And you can't be like, oh, well, they just don't know what they're doing personnel-wise. They've got everything else figured out across the board. No. And we talked about it the other day, but Frank Reich was a big influence there, and Carson Wentz is a shell of what he used to be.
Interesting defense of Peterson, because it ain't just this year that he's losing. But Ryan Carl says, he's not the GM. He's not the GM. Do you think?
But every listen. Any.
By the way, do you think Doug Peterson? Do you think Doug Peterson has any say in personnel? Come on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yes, he does. Yes.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yes. If he was screaming bloody murder about the risk he was taking at the tackle positions, they'd change things up. They'd get him help. So.
Yeah, I think. Listen, you sit there and draft, and you're like, you have to get me receiver help, and particularly for a team that's like our windows now. Right, which is where they are, and Wentz's deal is only going to get more and more expensive, and so they're like, "Look, we got to go right now." They needed to have changed out tackles. They were lucky; they were on fumes when they won the Super Bowl at tackle. They'd already lost their left tackle. They were old there, and they haven't replaced that. They haven't made good pro personnel moves. They always go for like the name that had a past as opposed to the young guy who hasn't had a shot. Like I'll tell you a guy, give you an example, Agba down with the Dolphins, who's got 7.5 sacks, was a high second-round bust for the Browns. Well, the Browns are turds. Chiefs got him last year. He had like 5 sacks in 6 games and then got hurt. But he was like 24 years old. Like, those are the guys you're looking for. You're not grabbing 31-year-olds. The NFL is a game that's played by 21 to 26-year-olds at the highest level. There are exceptions to the rules, and yes, the biggest stars will play at 28, 29, 30, 31. But look at the rosters that win. They're filled with guys that are 24, 25, 23, 22, 26. Because you know what? They can stand up to the beating and play 16 games.
Patriots, Chargers, pick.
Pats.
It seems sort of obvious.
I mean, the Chargers,
which scares me.
They're not a favorite, so they are playable, right? That's when you want them is when they're sitting there at a dog. But yeah, it has to be the Pats. It has to be the Pats, and they're a jacked up team anyway.
Ryan, I know you. Whatever. We don't have to get into terms of the bet. What sort of bet would you make with me? Because Petro and I are the kings of tracking bets. A year or two, or in Petro's case, like 21 years with Carlos Delgado. Yeah. What would you
define winning coach? Like, he
what's
goes
the bet?
7 some year. Who gives a shit?
Hey, you know what? Set the number. Next two regular seasons, how many games do the Eagles win under Doug Peterson?
I'm going to tell you. Let's just say this:
20.
Let's hold on for a second and let me offer this. Is Ryan a Eagles fan? Is that what this is?
No, Ryan is Adam's brother. He's a Bills fan, but Ryan's dad lived in Philly or just outside of Philly for a while. So
I figured
there's some Eagles knowledge.
Well, when I oftentimes I will say things and it sounds like, oh, he's spitballing or something, and I'm not, right? I am not guessing about a lack of discipline. Okay, and that goes across the board. Like, read up on some of the things about Doug Peterson. Okay, and when you see it, like, has Andy Reid gotten COVID? No, Doug Peterson has. Okay, like, and that doesn't mean that, like, you can be. There are lots of people. I'm just saying that as an NFL head coach, that doesn't have to be on the front line working as a cop or a fireman or a medical professional. It is easier to quarantine your ass and stay away and be ready to go and coach football. Okay. Read up some of the times. Read about Doug Peterson's. Some of the things that are discussed. I discussed it here in Kansas City. Everybody shit their pants, right? Like, there's some stuff that's out there that I'm telling you that you're not 100% focused on what's going on if some of the shit that's happening is happening.
Peterson was a Holmgren guy, right?
Peterson was an Andy Reid guy. He was Andy Reid. He started over Donovan McNabb. He might have. Yeah, I think he was. He was in Green Bay.
Right.
Right. And then Reid took him.
Isn't Reid a Holmgren guy too?
He is, yes. And Reid took Peterson, the quarterback, to Philadelphia, and he started Doug Peterson the first 5 games, I think, of the season before he turned it over to McNabb as a rookie after they'd taken McNabb at number 2 overall. And so Peterson went through that, and then continued to be a backup, and maybe he bounced up Green Bay after Philly. I can't remember, and then he got on the Andy Reid bus and rode it all the way to being the OC and KC, and then parlayed that into being a head coach. And listen, he's a good football coach, and I like Doug Peterson, the guy. I've interviewed him at the American Century Championship, and sitting there, you're not going to find a nicer guy, down to earth, good dude. But I'm just telling you, you don't consistently shit the bed for 3 years, and it's all somebody else's fault.
Right. So this is great. Ryan says he's going to be a winning coach, but then says he doesn't know how to define winning coach. Like, they win. It's wins. That's it. It's not, hey, they're 6-10, but they were a much better team. They had bad luck. Like, will he be over 500 the next 2 years? I mean, I think that's a low ball offer on my part. Can he win 18 regular season games the next 2 years?
I mean, that's a completely fair bet. He's got what is considered to be a franchise quarterback. Then be like, well, the guy sucks now. Well, then he made him suck, because he threw 33 touchdowns in 13 games under Doug Peterson.
All right.
So I mean, like, there's absolutely no excuse.
Sorry, anytime someone throws something up and I think it's outlandish, then I respond with, well, let's bet. So my bad, I bought into that.
No, it's the only way to put your money where your mouth is. It's what men do.
It's a good point. I think the Jets have shown that they do work hard. I think with just a couple of execution fixes the next couple of weeks, they can actually close out 4-1.
Listen, there's something I do on the show that I like to call, like, how does it end? Right? Like, we did, like, the three, like, KU, K-State, and Missouri are the three college programs that we follow really closely here. And so, like I did with all three football coaches, Les Miles, Eli Drinkwitz, and Chris Kleiman. How does it end? Right? Their time at this school, how does it end? And we don't need to go through it. Who gives a shit if you're, out west or whatever. But my point then is, how does it end with Doug Peterson, with the Philadelphia Eagles? And then tell me how his career ends.
Yeah.
Does he where your confidence is.
Does he sniff another Super Bowl? Will he make a conference championship game here or in his second start or his second stint somewhere else, his second stop? Because he will be a head coach somewhere else, no doubt. He won a Super
Bowl ring on his finger, yes.
He's got good hair. He wears visors. But he's going to get a second chance.
But does he get a second chance after not getting the Charger job, who has Herbert, not getting the Texan job, which has Deshaun Watson, not getting the Jet job, which will maybe clean house and give the head coach personnel say, and has Trevor Lawrence coming in? And does he not get even the Jag job, who would get, the number 2 pick coming in? Does he end up getting the Lion job and inheriting Matt Stafford? I'm going to tell you, Matt Stafford is a disease, right? I'm going to tell you just from conversations I've had, Matt Stafford is never going to win shit. Okay, right. He's Jeff George, just not as bad a mustache.
Better Jay Cutler.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he is, and that's the job that he's going to end up in. So I will tell you, I'll give you what I'm talking about. He gets another job. It's a job like the Lions, and it goes 8-8-ish, and that's it. Then you're talking about a guy who goes back to being an OC.
How does it end? I like that. We're going to start doing that. Stealing that.
You can take it as you should. I don't know any good idea. That actually is my idea.
Oh, that's a really good one.
I don't know any. I don't have any good ideas, but I know one when I see it, and I'll steal the shit out of it.
Yeah, I'm the king of features that last 3 weeks, and I come up with the features, and then I'm like, in 3 weeks in, I'm like, I'm not into it.
You just quit talking about it, and it fades off into the Neverland.
We just dropped this. We dropped the segment, although there are no segments in sports radio. We just drop it and move on to basically the same exact thing with a different name. I'm just looking for a good name and good drops. Just some sound effects to spice it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're both on the Patriots against the Chargers. All right. Well, we've tried to lay the points with the Chiefs a lot. They're still, well over 500 ATS.
Just keep laying.
It's 14 here.
Yeah. Yes.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the Broncos are dead man walking. I mean, seriously, they're dead man walking, and the Chiefs are clicking.
Okay. in Arizona.
By the way, one little subtle thing on the Chiefs, they get Sammy Watkins back, and you're like, oh, what does it matter? They had all these yards. They run the ball at like 1.5 yards per attempt better when he's on the field. Like everything gets better with Sammy Watkins on the field. Like it may be just this massive coincidence, or it may be that Andy Reid, one chink in his armor is that he's not as aggressive without him out there for whatever reason, but they're actually a better team and he's going to be out there. They're going to shit in the ear of the Broncos.
Bills on the road, but not really on the road, but the road doesn't really count as the road because there's no fans. But anyway, Niners have been banned from California. Santa Clara County just said, get out on like a week's notice. So Niners are now working pregame in Arizona. They're going to play, I think, is it 3 of their home games the rest of the way? Whatever it is, 2 of their home games the rest of the way on the road in Arizona. Bills are 2.5.
Who's quarterback for the Niners?
After watching the first half and second half split last week with the Bills and Josh Allen, he worries me sometimes.
Yeah.
They get a lead, and I'm not saying it's just him. He can flip though really quickly, playing well, being accurate to just garbage. And I think there's a lot of it is on Allen. And I like McDermott, but there is something with that team. They have to be, and they're having a good season, but they got to be better finishers.
They do. And part of that is on Allen. Part of it is that they really, while they've got a defensive-minded coach, don't run the ball that effectively, and it's hard for him to like say, okay, I'm going to just put it on my quarterback because I don't think they 100% trust that like he's always going to make the right decision. And I'll say this, like I'm going to tell you, scouts. I've talked to scouts. I've talked to coaches. Kyle Shanahan is considered a freaking genius. And I'm going to tell you that the fact that he had the Chiefs down 20-10 in the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo, who they're going to move on from in the next couple of years. And if he ever gets a real quarterback, then you're going to watch him and Andy Reid like go toe-to-toe in like it's going to be a Cowboys-Steelers type of situation because everybody I talk to talks about how much of a genius he is. Niners plus points is almost an auto bet.
All right. Well, you got the backing of Ryan Carl, and I haven't talked to Adam Hill about this game, but Adam is also a little Shanny stan, loves him. Ryan Carl, they always talk about the run game. So, and here's the other thing. Not only is Lil Shanny a genius, but Robert Saleh is a future head coach because what he's doing with that defense, with the losses they've had. Now, Dick Sherman just came back, so that's good, but what they're doing is incredible.
You are right. He is a future head coach. And then when it goes the way of like every other like great defensive coordinator who's riding wingman to a great offensive mind,
okay,
the bed after 3 years and he goes back to being a defensive coordinator. It's almost anybody who hires a defensive minded coach right now really is not paying attention to what's going on.
But if you were, I'm trying to think of a good example.
Name me the last defensive coaching hire that has still got his job 5 years later.
Zimmer. But I agree that
exception to the rule.
Yeah, he's an outlier. No, but here's what
you're right, and he's really good. He's really good. They're still in 1 year, out 1 year, in 1 year, out 1 year, like back and forth.
If you hire Robert Saleh, right, and say you're the Lions, right? I know Stafford's a killer. Say you're the Lions. If you hire Robert Saleh and he's making $4 million a year, then you hire Joe Brady as your OC for $395 million.
You're not going to get Brady. Brady's going to get a head coaching job in this cycle.
He's 30. I'm going to give you.
Ray was 29.
I'm giving you $50,000 less than the head coach. Get over here.
I'm going to tell you what you're going to get. I'll tell you what would be if you're going to hire Saleh with the Lions. Then you hire Matt Nagy gets fired by the Bears, and you hire Matt Nagy.
Okay.
Because I'm going to tell you, Matt Nagy is damaged goods right now. But from what I understand, and I would like to think I have some knowledge through multiple channels, there's a war going on between GM and coach there. And he didn't draft Trubisky. Right. He inherited Trubisky. He's tried to make it go with Nick Foles, and Nick Foles is a fragile individual. Like when it's going good, and I'm not saying he's a bad guy, he's a great guy. Great guy. super nice guy, but like not a stone cold killer, right? Like had it started going south against the Pats, I don't think he was going to bring it back, right? He's not Patrick Mahomes, who's a stone cold killer, right? So from that standpoint, like I think Matt Nagy really can coordinate some fucking offense. It's just like so shitty around there with the Bears, and they gave up. Everyone thought it was such a great deal to get Khalil Mack. No defensive player. Eric Eager at PFF said this today. No defensive player is worth a big contract. No one defensive player really means that much, right? You're better off to have depth. No weak link is a better defensive strategy. The bottom line is you've got to be able to score points. And I'm going to tell you, the Bears jacked up their draft, don't have the personnel that they need. Like if you're going to play with a less than stellar quarterback, Alex Smith looked really good with the Chiefs when he had Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, right? They gave him weapons to make things happen. And, Kareem Hunt at running back, he had expensive tackles to protect him. Then you can win some games with Alex Smith. Probably not a Super Bowl, but you can win games and get to the playoffs. So Stafford has got the arm. If it's going to work, so, you can get Saleh, and then you go get Matt Nagy, and he coordinates some shit. You get some weapons, and yeah, something could click there. Like Matt Stafford is a rainbow warrior. If it's going well, he'll do fine. If it's times are tough, you're not going to get a guy who digs in and fights to the end.
By the way, you were asking about defensive guys, and now it's early.
Rich kid from Dallas. Is that what you? Not that Patrick Mahomes, didn't have a buck or two with his dad being a Major League Baseball player, but just saying more your traditional rich kid from Dallas mindset.
No, what I meant was, I was going back to defensive coaches. Are there good ones who, good head coaches that were defensive guys? It's early on Flores.
It is early on Flores, and I like what I see. But like, if you want me to give you a prediction 5 years from now, will he still be the coach? The reason why I give him a shot is, and which is a great point. I love you calling me out on that. It's because I do like Tua big picture, right? Now, if the hip is shit and he can't deliver the ball the way he used to, then it's going to go south. But if they got it right with Tua, yeah, Flores will be there, but it'll be more about the quarterback than it will be Flores, the defensive coordinator. But I think Flores seems to have a good mind and seems to be willing to hire people and let them do their job. But it's a good point. Like, listen, there are about 5 coaches that I will take the over on 3 years being at their current job.
Vrabel.
I love Vrabel. That's like, I talked to him for a long time. I interviewed him for like 25 minutes at the American Century Championships in Tahoe. And then I sat there and bullshitted with him. He just sat there drinking beers with us for like a half hour. Cause like usually we do our show and it sounds like we have all these guests, but in reality, we sit sweating our ass off at the driving range for like 6 hours. You've been up there. You've done that deal, Steve. And you sit there at the driving range, just waiting. You might have no one for 2 hours, and you get 3 guys in a row, and you tape them all. And I absolutely adore Vrabel. Like he is as cool a guy. Like you're not going to find a better guy to hang out with. And he was a crusty asshole. And I told him that. I go, you were a big pain in the ass your last couple of years with the Chiefs. He goes, did you see how I was playing? Because I was going home, and my wife's like, are you serious? Like, why are you still out there? Yeah, like he is such a great. He goes, of course I was in a shitty mood. He goes, I'm playing like shit. It's the end of the road. The team sucks. Like he is nails. So Vrabel is the other guy I'd give a shot.
I'm glad that Aaron Saulgood picked up on my good hair, wears the visor with Peterson. He is now eliminating Robert Saleh because no hair, no thanks. No visor, no hair, no thanks. So.
But I mean, how many like great defensive coordinators have gone down to Jacksonville to shit the bed? Yeah. Dan Quinn with the Falcons was there, but only with Kyle Shanahan. He got in. Who was the Pettin with the Jags, right? No, he was the Browns coach. Who was the Jags coach that came from Seattle?
Gus Bradley.
Yeah. I mean, how many of them have to, you need an offensive mind. I mean, listen, there will be exceptions. So, like, would I wipe Vrabel and Flores off the board? No, but they're about the only 2 guys I would say 3 or 4 years from now I'd take the over on still being there.
These are, and CJ Cards fan will try to answer your question in a second. God damn it, Ryan. This is a really important one to me. And it plays to a comment that was made on my show today. We have a college basketball insider, Joe Esposito, who's coached all over the place. And I haven't even seen it yet because I really wasn't paying attention to what was going on the sidelines. Did Shaka Smart grow his hair out? Was he a bald by choice guy?
He was a ball by choice, dude. He looks like he's got the big curls. He looks like a 23-year-old grad assistant. Now it's like, yeah, he was ball by choice.
Wow. And Ryan Carl's very big on a couple of things. I think he's very pro hair.
On his hair, like the elevation of it, based on his avatar.
Ryan, at some point before the draft, we need, because you're all about being in touch with your inner whatever. You're strong on your masculinity. Ryan has a theory that if you're not good looking, you're gonna have a tough time being a successful quarterback. Somewhat good looking. He was very anti Darnold. I don't know if Darnold's good looking, but he's got good hair, but he's got kind of like a blockhead. But I thought if I remember correctly, Ryan, I think you were down on Darnold because of his looks. So is an interesting way to look at quarterbacks.
There was a book I read. Oh God, which one was it? It was one of those like analytics books, and they did a thing on like because baseball. There's a book called Scout's Honor. And another one, an old scouting book where they talked about there used to be a thing on the baseball scouting thing for the good face.
Oh, really?
Right? And what it is, and I will tell you this, strong, prominent features, like big athletes, they generally have big features. Bring up, the Miami offensive, he went to the University of Miami, offensive tackle. And he played for the Chiefs at one point. Now he's like high up in the player personnel department. And I've described him as a Batman villain. Chin, cheekbones, big forehead, big nose, really predominant features. My theory is like you cook longer in the womb. You end up with bigger hands, bigger shoulders, and the facial features tend to come with it. Right? Like
have you discussed this on terrestrial radio?
Oh yes,
about cooking more in the womb.
Yeah, I'm gonna here. Let me hang on. I'm gonna bring up the guy. I'm gonna get then you bring up a picture. Miami.
That's so awesome.
Offensive.
And while he's doing that, people asked about Peyton Manning and Eli Manning. There's going to be outliers, but you're right. No, Eli not. I'm not even sure Eli was a good quarterback, above average quarterback, but I don't know if he was really good. 2 Super Bowls, but good for him.
What's his name?
Peyton Manning. No.
Eric Winston. Bring up a photo of Eric Winston, and I'm going to show you the baseball, the good face. And I believe, like I have now tracked it since I read this, 10, 15 years ago in this book about baseball scouting. And I should go upstairs and grab it. But anyway, I've watched, and you look at guys like Priest Holmes, right? He's only 5'9", 5'10", but he's got the good face, right? Like a big head. First of all, it starts with a big head, right? Nobody that is like great in sports has a tiny little head. There are no Beakers. Like, remember Beaker from the Muppets?
Oh, so it's not necessarily good looking. You have to have a giant head. Then, yeah, Eli Manning and Peyton Manning.
Features, right? Yeah. Strong, prominent facial features, which usually is like a strong jawline.
Right.
Right, which is generally speaking a thing. Anyway, so I read that, and so like baseball scouts used to have it. Well, the good face to me is a product of like being overcooked. Bigger hands, which gives you more wrap around the bat, right? The ability to more fingers, which is more torque on the baseball to give it more delivery, throw hard, all the different things, right? All the elements seem to be there. It coincides with if you have all these arm, leg, feet, hand features, it tends to manifest itself also in a more prominent facial feature, right? That's there. So they called it the good face. It's legitimately on a traditional scouting form. The good face. Does he have it? And they would check it. He has the good face. Okay. Click through. Find me another one. There's a couple of them that I'm like, you tell me this guy isn't ready to be the next Batman villain. Okay. There's one where you're like, holy shit, put a leather jacket on that guy and he is ready to be the guy Batman can't beat. Okay. And I'm like, that's the epitome of the good face, right? So on like the good looking quarterbacks are always good looking, like Brady's good looking. They did a study where they took Brady's face to women outside the U.S., people who did, and in the U.S., people who don't follow football and didn't know who he was, and he graded as average at best for his looks.
Really?
when you know he's Tom Brady, he's a good-looking guy because you're like, that's the MVP guy, and he's a big deal. Tom Brady is an average at best. And they even the study had comments that people had, but one of them called him Lurch.
Really?
Looks like Lurch from the Addams Family. So the concept that the quarterback is good looking, no, you know who he is and he's a big deal. So you tend to, move yourself in his direction and like, oh, that's a good looking guy. No, it's because you've seen his face a million times and he's been successful. So you associate that with being good looking. There's a better one. Get the you have a better one.
I can't get shit to load up.
Yeah, well, it's better. Get the Bengal one. That's better. Don't tell me that's not a Batman villain. Look at the forehead, the nose.
Now we're just checking out pictures of Eric Winston.
Yeah, look at those facial features. And he's a freaking offensive tackle in the NFL.
That's a good villain shot right there.
There it is. Like, ready? He's about to shoot somebody. Good dude, by the way. Smart guy.
Apparently.
Yeah. 6 head. There you go. I like that, Brady. That's a 6 head. Exactly.
What about this, though? You want your offensive lineman as ugly as possible.
That's fine. I'm good with that.
All dirty and beat up.
Yeah, because you know what? But they have the connotation that they're an offensive lineman. Bring up Tom Brady. Bring up a shot of Tom Brady. He's not a great looking guy.
I will not smear the good name. I hate Brady, but
I'm telling you.
He's a fine looking gentleman. CJ Cards fan said he looks like a fat Shooter McGavin. We do have two final games we have to get to. And these are two of the they're actually fascinating games because they're more of this NFC East is going
big foreheads, strong jaw lines. Come on, let's get the games in so we can get back to the real meat of what we're talking about tonight.
Here we go. Bottom of the slate, they had to set the number, even with a bunch of questions out there.
By the way, for Cameron, he's a white Shrek. That's strong.
Wow. Okay. Steelers. No way this goes off at 7.5 when the game arrives, but they had to set a number today. Football team's getting 7.5.
Who do you like?
Steelers.
I can't help you. Steelers are on borrowed time. Football team, Alex Smith. I'll take football team.
This is the weirdest situation I can recall, and there's not a lot of teams that make it past week 10 unbeaten.
The majority of them finished 14-2, by the way. So that would mean Curtis had a thing today. I think there are 11 teams that were 11-0 to this point. There's the 18-0 Pats, right, that then lost the Super Bowl. But the majority of them finished 14-2. Now, part of that is they lose the first one. They've already got the one seed sewn up, and so they mail in the rest of the season. Steelers don't have that situation going on because the Chiefs are right behind them with just one loss. Usually there's like a 3-loss team that's chasing you, and you have a cushion. They don't have a cushion. But, do you really look at the Steelers and go, this is the best team in the league?
No. Like I said, I'd have to look back in history at teams that were 9-0, 10-0, 11-0. I don't think they're that good, and if they get the bye, that's a big help. But I could also see them losing in the first round if they're the 2. Well, they can't. No, they can't. There's no bye outside of the number 1 team. There's no bye. So I could see them getting upset. The AFC's got enough depth.
The Baltimore Ravens shit away. Now the Steelers played poorly as well.
Right.
But had the Ravens if the LSU linebacker could catch, okay, if Luke Wilson, the tight end, could catch, if Luke Wilson could catch, they win this game.
Right.
I mean, it literally there were numerous plays that the Ravens frittered away. And this was with a backup quarterback. If Lamar Jackson plays in this game, they freight train the Steelers. I truly believe that.
After watching RG3 throw the ball, should McSorley have gotten the start? By the way,
quite possibly, although he was not accurate either. He looks like a runner slinging it too.
He's Taysom Hill. There was a big fight. I forget the two.
Minus 40 pounds.
Oh, he's smaller. But he's like an uber athlete. But he was good. He was a good player at Penn State. But there was actually, I can't remember the two coaches. Obviously, the Ravens were one of them. But there was I almost feel like it was Peyton There was a big war behind the scenes to get Trace McSorley as one of those utility guys, as another Taysom Hill.
It's probably Sean Payton because he admitted to violating league rules and trading back into the draft to get the Mississippi State quarterback to be Taysom Hill Jr.
Okay.
So he loves that running quarterback, and he's obviously playing Taysom Hill, which is ultimately going to blow up. But, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if it was Sean Payton. You know, like teams do it all the time. Like as soon as they're done with their picks, or even before that, they're negotiating with guys like, if you don't get picked, you know, we want to sign you. Here's the deal. And then the guy will be like, dude, I got a deal already with the Chargers. They're going to give me this much. Or I got a deal with the Packers or whatever. And then a team will be like, holy shit. Whenever you see a future pick traded for a seventh this year, like during a current draft that's going on, they tried to sign a guy, found out that he already had a deal.
Right.
And they traded back into the draft so that they could make sure that they got the guy. I mean, literally, I'll say every time, and if I'm wrong less than 5% of the time. That's a fact.
The last game, and by the way, do you agree with me? Would you lay the 7.5 of the Steelers or not?
No. I'm on football team.
All right. What day was Lamar Jackson positive with COVID? When was it announced? So it was 6 days ago.
Was it 6 days ago? Okay.
So from a timing standpoint, he's he'll be good to go to come back. Do we think?
Well, I can't play the Cowboys, so
I mean, it's clearly it's built into the number. Or
5 straight days of negative tests, right? Isn't that what it is?
Right.
So how long does the virus run its course? And I would tend to think he's not going to be back personally.
I don't think this number would be. I mean, right now, there's no way this number would be this big if, an injured RG3 or McSorley are the options. So I think they expect him back.
I would agree with that. But how did our COVID assessment of the Broncos work for us last week?
Not well, but that was a weird situation.
I don't know. It's fine. I mean, do you like I do like the Ravens. I think people at 6-5, people are going to be like the Ravens are dead. I think they're going to start. I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to make the playoffs because I think John Harbaugh's the shit. And I agree with you. So I would tend to be on the Ravens here. Yes,
he's back. He's back because they can't do enough to the Ravens to do every fucking favor for him. They move the game back to next Tuesday. So
Ravens, football team, Niners, Chiefs, Pats. We may just take the last 5 on the board. Although I do like the Browns.
You were very strong on the Browns.
Yeah, I love the board. I
don't think I've heard you say that all year.
I haven't, and it usually does not go well when I do. So, take it with a grain of salt. But I like the Ravens. I like if I were standing there in Vegas looking at this board, I'm on the Ravens, I'm on football team, I'm on the Niners, I'm on the Chiefs. I'm on the Niners because I know I'm playing multiple games. Like that is a little scary proposition, but I'm like, Shanahan plus points, I'm on it. So there's a lot of things that are like auto bets for me. So Ravens, football team, Niners, Chiefs, Pats. I like the Cardinals, Browns. Let me see the top. Falcons, I do. I like the Falcons, which it seriously is. Got a pain in my side just saying it.
Shooting pain.
Jags, Dolphins, Bears. Yeah, I would be rocking firing. This would be a day that because a lot of times I'll look at the board and be like, there's one bettable game. Like when I'm really there, and this is one I'm like, all right. Somebody get their fat ass down there at 6 a.m. and get us a good seat because I'm rocking half the card and I'm rocking it big.
All right, I got to close on this. I like fat people. I like oddities.
You're talking to me right now, so clearly.
Yeah. You were mentioning Mizzou earlier.
MIC.
So what's coming up for them?
In what? Football or basketball?
Football.
They got Arkansas this week.
Okay, so that's why this was out there. So big fella Sam Pittman And he coached at Mizzou, right, for at least a year, didn't he?
Like a year, yeah. And when he reminisced about his time at Mizzou, and he talked about going to a Mexican place called Chevy's.
Yep, this is it. This is the story I wanted to cover. Yeah, Pittman on his fondest memories of Columbia, Missouri. Quote: "There was a place called Chevy's where I ate a lot. Mexican restaurant that stood out.
Chain Mexican. They have a place called Shakespeare's Pizza, which is iconic. It's a really good college town, Columbia, and with a cool, college area. And like his memory is like mall friggin' chain fast, Mexican food."
End of the quote. I put some weight on at Missouri. No shit. You put it on somewhere.
Are you going to find a photo of him or no?
I can't. I can't. It's just, but he's my favorite because he's morbidly obese and he can't walk. Like he can't actually walk out. He's limping and shit, but he's a good coach.
He's 59. I will say this: like, if there's a motivation, so by all accounts, Missouri gave Eli Drinkwitz, who had been a head coach at Appalachian State for 1 year, had a good year, but obviously didn't build the program. They gave him over $4 million a year, right? So somebody else was calling, and the word is it was Mizzou and Arkansas that were fighting for Drinkwitz. Drinkwitz is from Arkansas, and so there's and they're trying to make this a rivalry, and they don't play Kansas every year, although they're whipping that back up in football and basketball. But there should be some shit here, right? Like there's a reason for them to get fired up because Arkansas really wanted Drinkwitz by all accounts, and they ended up not getting him. So, and if you're Arkansas, don't you want to make a statement?
Yes. Did I really want to break down the game? No.
No, you want to talk about him being a fat ass. I'm sorry.
No, but the factually that Chevy's closed in 2011 in Columbia. Just a quick question for the audience.
Did it close before he was even there? Is that what you're saying?
No, it was 11 years after.
Okay.
He was there in 2000. It closed in 2011. Is there a good chain sit-down Mexican restaurant? Has there ever been?
When I was a kid, Chi-Chi's.
Okay.
You have Chi-Chi's?
Yes, and I thought it sucked.
Really? Well, I was 4. What did I know? I actually, took my mom to Mother's Day. I was only child, single parent. So I took her to a Mother's Day dinner. I remember getting dressed up in a suit with a clip-on tie to take my mom to Mother's Day dinner at Chi-Chi's. So Chi-Chi's, pour one out for Chi-Chi's if it's no more. Will always have a soft place in my heart because I felt like I was like king shit because I was taking my mom to Mother's Day dinner at Chi-Chi's.
Do we have anyone or any chain Mexican joints? No. We got to go above that. In Vegas that are good, and like I'm talking true chain, like they're out of the state as well. I know I'm missing some. Everyone's saying Chi-Chi's.
Chi-Chi's when I was a kid. I don't know. Is it still around? Chi-Chi's when I was a kid. I mean, why didn't you like Chi-Chi's? I
just didn't think it was good, man. I don't know. Might have started out. What was it?
There's a woman that says done in by hepatitis. We do have Taco John's, Brady.
Boy, Taco John's is interesting because
but that's kind of like that's like
fast food.
That's like Subway.
Yeah, it's fast food.
It's Subway tacos.
And I think the best thing at Taco John's are those little potatoes because they give them away like they've got an endless supply. Like
they do.
The side
of potatoes at the grocery store compared to buying tomatoes at the grocery store.
Yes, that's a good point. But I mean, they give you, it's like a little bucket. Like I always hit there. There's one near the hotel in Fort Collins, which by the way, that's Colorado State, has a ton of good restaurants. But I always land at Taco John's, so that shows my team.
What's the place there in Vegas? I know they have it in Surprise as well. It's not. Is it Chevy's?
Chain? Well, yeah. There's Ricardo's, but that's going downhill. I feel like most of our chain places have gone out of business.
Now, what was it? What they had them everywhere. They have them in Arizona. They're in AZ and Nevada and Vegas. I know, but those are the only two places I see them.
Well, it's not Roberto's. Roberto's is like an upscale fast food, but it's awesome. It's cheap.
Chewy's. Is that it? Chewy's. Is that it?
Where's Chewy's?
And there are Chewy's there in Vegas?
I don't think so.
What the hell was it? We ate there one time, me and you. Like, we'd always go in there at like 9:30. Not always, like we didn't go there that many times. I thought it was me, you, and a couple other folks. And we'd go in there like 9:30 and we'd be like the only people there, but they had like big beers and big margaritas.
There are no Californians in the room at all? Because I'm not just limiting it to Vegas. I'm just talking anywhere in the country. I actually like, and I think I'm going to get my head ripped off by Californians. There's a place called El Torito in Southern California. I actually think it's pretty good. So, and that's a chain joint.
Is it in LA or San Diego?
It is in LA. By the way, I don't want to break this one to you.
In LA this summer, and if there is, then I'm going to go check it out.
Oh no, that's a lot of pressure. You know what? Erase. I didn't say that.
What?
No, because I know you'll go there and be like, it fucking sucked. They do, if I remember correctly. I think they do.
Family, we drove 3 hours from LAX before the hotel.
We made a special trip.
We skipped in and out by the airport. We usually take the kids and watch the planes land. Right. By LAX, you son of a bitch, and I drove clear across town.
I think it's one of the places that also serves the giant beer in the schooner.
Yeah.
You got to like two-hand it. And so
the Frosty is like the ice forms on the bottom of the schooner and everything.
Not overly frosty. Yeah, in Inglewood.
Like a frosty mug, frosty schooner glass with the beer. Oh, it's strong.
All right, I'm going to have to do research on this. We flopped. I should have come to the table. It was a random thought, so we'll find. Mutts?
I don't know. I see.
By the way, I don't hate Outback. I know a lot of people hate Outback, but although it's getting a little pricier. But I'm
a steak guy, so I don't go that much. But I got friends, my KCK friends, Renee, like to go there, and I got no rub. I got no beef. I'm good.
Yeah, I mean locally we've got a chain that has 3 or 4 spots, Lindo, Michoacan, and there's one out on Flamingo. I'll take a pass. The one that is on Decatur, bad news for everyone, Brady. They have an issue with a sinkhole in the restaurant. Seriously, it's when I was reading up on it, and it's really good. They're expecting to be down for like 9 months.
A sinkhole will do that to you.
Yeah, trying to fix it / let's get out of the way of COVID, and
So what is Flaming Wands?
It's a local chain, so that's the one we go to.
And chain, or is it just one joint?
Guys, are there just 2? There's the one in Henderson that opened up recently, and then there's the original spot. I think there's just 2.
Because we go to the one on the west side, right?
We go to the one on the west side. Yep.
But I mean, that's like there's nobody's down on that, right?
I don't know. I didn't see anyone complaining about it, so I know our crew likes it.
I know this. I know like everybody likes the food, and then credit card roulette doesn't kick anyone's ass that bad. Like the price, like you're like, holy shit.
No, you get a lot of food. You get a lot of food, a lot of value. All right, Petro. I know it's late for you. We appreciate it. Good job, audience. We appreciate you guys more than we appreciate each other. I don't know what I'm saying. We're back tomorrow. Legal podcast. Justin Watkins is in again. It's a 9:00 local start, and I do think in the Super Contest I'm going to push management there to let us pick 8 games. We need to start piling up wins, and the rules need to be broken for us.
You have connections. Use them.